Good morning, Miami, and just about anybody else who's tuning in. Welcome to the On the Clock Miami Dolphins Weekly Draft Show here on FTSN. I'm Bobby Finstock, joined always by Coach Vogel and Josh Wingate. We appreciate you all tuning in as we get closer and closer to the NFL Draft. Now just, a few weeks away. So very interesting. We are pushing. We were just talking about trying to wrap up, catching up on filming and wrapping up on rankings. But before we get into that, Josh, it's been a little bit, brother. How are you?
It has been doing well. Was very busy. Now I'm not as busy, so excited to get into this and ready to go.
There you go, Coach. Always a pleasure. How are you and the Cobras?
We're good. We're good. We went down to Columbus last week and got shut out, and then got back to Carolina and made a quarterback change, and my center was healthy and put up a 40-20 spot on him. So
nice.
I saw that. I saw the shutout. It was funny. Yeah. I went on YouTube. I was doing some work for the channel, doing some different things, and I went to YouTube to make sure everything was working. And I saw Cobras versus, I forgot who it was, and it was, Coach. Lions. So I clicked on it. It was 19-0. Not Lions. That's right. So it was 19-0, and I went, oh, damn. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
But
hey, we are. So the guy that we moved to quarterback is a local legend. James Summers played it locally at Page High School and then went to East Carolina, had a couple stops in some NFL camps. And he played quarterback through those. And then, but teams like Green Bay wanted to move him to running back. And he's like, no, I'm a quarterback. You know how that goes, right?
Yeah.
Those dual threats. And so we moved him to quarterback, and he commanded the offense really well. Made a few more changes, and things clicked from the get-go. Our kickoff team was amazing. Had a fumble return for a touchdown, another fumble recovery for a touchdown, tackled on the 4-yard line. They really balled out. So it was good to see. It's fun, man. It's fun to kind of get in the mix. So
awesome, bro. Awesome. So you guys are 2-1 now, right?
Yep, 2-1.
There you go.
2-1, and we get Wheeling coming back to town, which was the first game we played. So they're 0-3. They had the game they played us, their quarterback ended up getting concussed, so they've had a little bit of a rough spell. But they're, like I said, that the guy who's their president and head coach, he was a former Carolina guy, so it's always a good rivalry.
There you go.
We're looking forward to seeing him again Saturday night. So
there you go.
Get after it. Yeah, man.
Fins up to Jamaican from Zion. Appreciate you tuning in. Good morning, sir. Everyone who's watching, wherever you're watching, we appreciate you tuning in. If you're anywhere other than YouTube, hop on over, hit that like and subscribe button, that notifications bell. A lot of good stuff on FTSN. Just to run it down, of course, for Miami Dolphin fans, you got Real Talk Finstock on Tuesday nights at 7:30 with Steve Malloy. You have East 10th Street Boys on Thursday night. You have, let's see here, Finstock Overtime sometimes on Thursday. You got Finstock today on Saturday. Couldn't do a show yesterday. Fish Tank Hank was busy with some stuff. He couldn't, of course, on the clock. We have On Deck Baseball podcast on Wednesday nights and eventually on Sundays. If you're into baseball, Russ Morgan does some great work. He's a former scout, played college baseball. He loves baseball. I mean, he's very informative. He knows everything. Tune in, man. If you love baseball, watch that show. Give him the support. He's a good dude. The only issue is he's a Jets and he's a Boston Celtics fan. So
what's his baseball team? Do you know?
He's a Yankee. He loves the Yankees. Yeah.
Oh,
he watches. He knows every team. He knows all sports. But that dude, Yankee, Boston Celtic, and the Jets. It's like, okay, wow. So, but yeah, we're gonna talk about Tyler Shough from Louisville. We're gonna discuss him. Miami. Marvin Allen, the assistant GM, visited Louisville to watch his pro day. Discuss that. We're gonna discuss the offensive line. What else? And where things stand currently at 13 after the moves Miami has made, especially in that first wave of free agency, what possibly could go down in the second wave. There is Russ. Russ says, I can speak Marlins too. Not much to talk about, but we'll have to. Yes, you will.
We just care about Phillies. That's all.
Yeah, he's a Phillies fan, Russ. That's That's Josh. He's a Phillies fan. Also, very quick, we got the Caneswear podcast came back on Wednesday nights at 9:00 Eastern time with Brett and the crew. Great show. A lot of viewers for those two, for the 2 episodes they just did. They follow the Miami Hurricanes. They got the Hurricanes football, baseball, basketball, anything Miami Hurricanes, and everything else Miami sometimes. But that's a great podcast to check out. And of course, if you love Miami, anything Miami, and you want some Miami sports gear, go check out Caneswear.com. Brett and his team at Caneswear does amazing work, great customer service, great gear, great prices. They just celebrated their 15th year anniversary, so they got a 15% discount, I believe, on orders. But if you're in Florida and you're in the area, go to Davie, Florida. They're at 2655 South University Drive down in Davie. Go to the shop, check it out. If you get there and you do purchase something, let them know where you heard it. Let them know where you heard about the shop. Tell them Finns Talk Sports Network. And of course, to check down Russ and myself and Dave Stager, we cover everything NFL. And I'm sure there's other stuff. And no holds barred wrestling. If you love wrestling, Josh Kimmel and myself, Saturdays, 4 p.m. Eastern. Great stuff there as well. All right. Russ Morgan says, Josh, coach, ask Bobby Friday what you think the Jets need at right tackle, but your opinion on passing in the first and TK. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and answer that because we even though it's the Dolphins, we talk everything, and he did ask me this about passing on a possible tackle in Will Campbell, or I'm forgetting, I think Memboa. Forgive me if I'm butchering that name. Passing on either one of them for the Jets, or would you rather go ahead and get a Tate McMillan or Tyler Warren out of Penn State? Coach, I'll let you go first. I know you're a trenches guy, so
through and through. I've always been shore up your O-line first, especially if it's an area that you've struggled with and it's not solid. I think, especially with a new coaching staff and a new quarterback there, you're gonna need a sturdy offensive line. But the Warren, are we talking about Warren, the tight end?
Yes,
State, is that right?
State. Uh-huh.
I mean, he's a stud, which would give. Who's the quarterback over there now? Fields? Is he with the Jets?
Justin Fields is the quarterback for the Jets.
So
right
that would be a good weapon for him. But we also saw what happened to Justin Fields when he didn't have a very good line in Chicago. So for me, I'm always going offensive line first. I think there's good tight ends later in the draft that we'll get to. Later, I know Bobby's been high on the kid from Bowling Green too, which is
Harold Bannon Jr.
Yes, he is. He's pretty good too. But so, although if they did go with Warren, you couldn't blame them. So I would say either a tackle or Warren at tight end if he's available. But I'm going tackle.
Yeah,
offensive, defensive line.
I'm going to sound very similar to Vogel just because I'm in the belief of building a roster. Like, say you were to go from a clean slate, I'm building my offensive line before I'm getting my quarterback. And I feel like while it's not a clean slate over there with the Jets, they still don't know who their quarterback is. Yeah, they're plugging someone in there, but they don't know if he's going to work out. So I want to, even to this point, get all my offensive linemen squared away. Let's see what happens with Justin Fields. And then if not, I'm looking next year to get my quarterback. Yeah. I think Membo might be the guy. I think he's rising up boards. He's probably the best pure right tackle in this draft. So, I mean, I could see that guy being the pick. But, I mean, it's fun getting these weapons and getting these guys. I think it's more important there's trenches. I mean, why do you think the Cobras are winning? Because they got Vogel there in the trenches.
We do have some studs in the trenches.
Yeah.
So is that what Kevin was asking if Sanders or Campbell there
for Miami? Well, and Josh, you could answer that first. If it's Shadir Sanders or Will Campbell at there for 13, who would you take?
Well, does Will Campbell have injury histories? Or what's going on with Will Campbell? There's something around his name.
Short hands, short arms.
Yeah.
Give me Campbell then. I hate when
Yeah.
We over
Short arms.
analyze
I
things.
hate when people say short arms is an issue, and they don't realize like the short arms were a thing until they measure. Like if it doesn't show up on tape, don't care about it.
Yeah.
Campbell's one of the best pure pass protectors in this draft, if not the best pass protector in this draft. Do that. Is it Simmons that has the injury history?
I think it was Josh Simmons. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get into all that right now and discuss that. And let's get into that. Let's talk about that. And appreciate, guys. Keep the questions coming. Keep the comments coming. We appreciate it. We'll do our best to answer each and every one, as long as they're not repetitive. Sometimes that happens, so don't get offended if we don't answer it because we did already. However, let's talk about the dilemma on the offensive line for Miami because, as you see, like Kevin brings up, and Kevin, thank you. Talk about Will Campbell, tackle for out of LSU, possible option for Miami at 13. Mel Kiper saying Miami needs to address the left tackle position in Miami. What's the dilemma at left tackle? I think it's more dilemma at left guard, but people keep talking about the left tackle position. Miami did draft Patrick Paul last year. They still have Austin Jackson. They drafted Patrick Paul to be the heir apparent, apparently. He didn't have a lot of time to come in and show off or do anything like that. We don't know what's going to happen with Teron Armstead. We don't know if he's going to retire or stay or whatever. However, if he does, even though Miami spent a second round pick, and Josh, I'll start with you, and Coach, you follow up right after Josh, please. But because you would ask this question if we were deciding this on draft day. Should Miami quit after spending a second round pick on Patrick Paul? Should Miami quit on Patrick Paul and go after a Will Campbell over, let's say, a Will Johnson or a Nick Amenrari or a Tyler Warren, whomever? Should Miami say, okay, no, man, we're going to go after Will Campbell, and now what are we going to do with Patrick Paul?
No, I mean, because you spent such a high value pick on Patrick Paul, I think you have to give him. You saw something in that guy, and did he play when he played last year? So what?
Yeah, he played.
Did he look bad last year?
I don't think he looked bad.
He looked like a rookie a little bit.
He looked like a rookie to me. He didn't get enough time to make a judgment based off his career.
But you put film on him like even in the draft process last year. Yeah, I think my cutoff was Patrick Paul on like who I would take in the first round actually. And you put his film on. He's a athletic left tackle that, he had some technique issues. That's something you can solve. So I don't think we're in I might have said this last year as well, but we're in the aspect in sports where, because the quarterback is expected to do this as well, if you don't pan out year one, you're never going to pan out. And it's not true. Like there's some players that have this developmental aspect to them, and Patrick Paul is one of them. He has all the tools that you need to be a really good left tackle in this league. But if let's just say you did draft the next left tackle, where does Patrick Paul go from there?
There's the question.
Like you spent this high value player or pick on this player. Are you just going to say, well, that pick doesn't matter in 1 year?
No.
So it's like, no, like you have to put your trust in the pick that you took, put them in there, but maybe draft a left tackle, 4th, 5th round, someone that could come and develop behind him. So you do have that like security blanket for if he doesn't pan out.
Right.
And that's why, like, for me, is Will Camp, like they were talking about Jake Long. Jake Long, though, to me, I will die on that hill. Understand the Matt Ryan argument. Matt Ryan obviously had
Jake Long was the right pick.
That's how I feel. Yeah. I will die on that hill. Jake Long was the right pick at that point in time in Miami.
I think, like I was saying, I think if you already had a Matt Ryan, on the roster, like, I think it would. So I agree. In the moment, I was a massive Jake Long fan and felt that was the right pick. But looking back, you didn't have a quarterback that was the Matt Ryan type.
No, but
you know what I'm saying. But now, kind of looking back, like, does it make sense to take Matt Ryan? We didn't have
only reason Jake Long didn't pan out was injuries.
Correct?
Yeah. Like, it wasn't like he was a bad. Like, you can't foresee the injuries.
No.
Right.
No,
Exactly.
and that's why, like, for me,
dominant left tackle.
Like the Bill Parcells philosophy. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate you, my man. Good morning, sir. The Bill Parcells philosophy, what he was doing with Tony Sparano was, go get your tackle.
Yeah.
Your starting tackle of the future and franchise, which he was until he got hurt. And then they'd go get a quarterback. And of course, they went and got Chad Henne, who, he just didn't work out. But to me, we just talk about it. You build from the inside out. And you, like I mentioned, we drafted a Matt Ryan, but you don't get a quality tackle because Miami struggles building an offensive line. Yeah. And Matt Ryan's not what he is in Atlanta. You go, man, we should have drafted the tackle. I know hindsight's 2020, or even call it. But for me, I'll down that hill, man. And is there a Jake Long in this draft that you would take over a Matt Ryan? That's my question. Is Will Campbell the Jake Long where, like, even though you got a Patrick Paul sitting back there or a Mamboa, are those guys a Jake Long quality guy that you could plug and play? For me, right now, I'm still at BPA. There's and BPA could be position in E. There's positions in E where BPA stands with Miami. At 13, second round, you could still go get a tackle, but a guy you could move from guard to tackle. How far does Calvin Banks fall? Cameron Williams out of Texas. You got I'm gonna butcher his name, Jonas Savanea. What's his school? Who cares? Either way, you could plug him at guard, and guess what? Any of those guys, you can put them at left guard, right guard, wherever. And if Patrick Paul doesn't work out, like Kevin's point with Will Campbell, then you could roll this other guy to the left tackle, and then you got to figure out the left guard position again. So that's where I stand on it. Elwood, good morning, says, y'all know how any pop out for the season, got to have depth. Absolutely. Any player. You gotta build depth. By the way, Bobby, I know you're big on Genty. I run up to the podium if he's there. That's my thing, Kevin. Thank you for bringing that up.
He won't be there.
Because
there's a team other side right here.
Hold on.
Probably going to take over.
I have something for that. Arizona. Thanks, Russ. 7A. Look, Kevin, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm with you. I would not hate that. If somehow, some way, Genty gets past Dallas, if he's sitting there at 13, Miami has to consider him. Now, wouldn't hate if Miami passes or is not there, because if Miami does want to get a running back, I don't think you should sleep at running back at all for Miami. The name that keeps popping in my head, I'm going to watch a lot more of, is Hampton out of North Carolina. Yep. He had a killer pro day. A Senior Bowl pro day, and I think it was the Senior Bowl. I'm sorry, I mean the scouting combine, where
he popped. Big time.
Yeah, and McDaniel and Greer were noticeably impressed by what they saw, and a lot of people. And he's been rising up boards. I've seen a few now mocks have him going in the end of the first round. So now that you said Dallas, I want to ask this. We're going to talk about where things stand at 13 right now, because I love that's where we're headed. But I want to talk about Dallas, because I talked about this with Russ Morgan on Checkdown. We talked about Cam Ward.
Yeah.
As it stands right now, Cam Ward should be a lock at number 1, right? Whether it's to Tennessee, because they have not done anything at quarterback, or if a team trades up. The Giants, of course, signed Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, so they look like they're goody two shoes. They don't have to do a damn thing. I still think it's a crazy thing that they did, but whatever. Shedeur Sanders. Some people projected him to be number 1. I watched more film on him yesterday, guys. As I was telling you, I'm trying to round out my top 50, and my grade went a little higher because I was able to, and so I think I have him mid-second or late second or whatever. But, obviously QBs are going to overdrafted. We're hearing Jackson Dart is rising up boards and maybe get picked in the first round, whatever.
I heard he could go the second quarterback overall or second.
I saw that QB too. So we know how that works, though. Those could be agents pumping up guys. That could be teams using the media to try to push guys down, because the best case scenario for a team like Miami at 13, who have a Tua that, they may need a QB, but down the line, if it doesn't work out, but a team like Miami that has a quarterback in place, best case scenario is for Shedeur, Cam Ward, Jackson Dart to get drafted in the top 10, because that's going to push down a very damn good player.
Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders. There's a lot of talk.
I do agree with Russ, though. I think if he gets past the Raiders, I do feel like it's going to be a feeding frenzy at 7. I do feel like.
I have a very strong suspicion, and I want to get Wingate's opinion. And I asked Wingate this opinion on Friday, just in case he was tuning in. Obviously, he wasn't, because I know, Josh, when you're watching, if you usually comment, so I was like, Josh, if you're watching, please say something.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
No, but it's all right. I know, but. Because Josh usually tunes into the programming, so I know, you'll comment if it. But so my suspicion is this, and it's funny. I brought this up a few weeks back on Checkdown with Stager and Russ. And I said, "What about Shedeur to Dallas?" And hold on, Josh. It's funny because then Dave was kind of like, and I said, "Hey, I have a suspicion, man. I just keep seeing it, because obviously Genty, right? That's a big name, but I just think, man, Shedeur." Obviously the storyline, right? Dak's hurt. Even though they extended him last year, he's always hurt. They haven't made the bet. We know how much Jerry Jones loves the headlines.
Yeah.
And obviously the history that's there. So anyway, I say that because I started thinking about it, because I feel like he could fall, and he could fall to a place where maybe Dallas trades up in that 7 to 8 range. And as I said that, just throwing it out there, now the stories are starting to pick up. We know how smoke starts to build up with different areas, and people are saying Shedeur to Dallas. And then what if Shedeur goes to Dallas, and then all of a sudden next year or the year after, here comes Deion Sanders to Dallas? So Josh, I got to ask you, because you watch Dak Prescott week to week, you as a fan makes the judgment, like, man, are you comfortable moving on from him? And you watching football as you do, being a student that you are, would you feel comfortable with a Shedeur Sanders at quarterback replacing a Dak Prescott?
I haven't watched Shedeur, so
okay.
I can't speak to him as a player, but I can speak to Dak very, very well as a player. And I do believe in Dak. I think Dak isn't the type of player that he needs like an offensive line around him. He needs offensive weapons. He needs a run game, and it's just like some sort of a running game, some sort of an offensive line, some sort of a receiver. And he has the receivers for sure. His offensive line and his running game was just atrocious last year. So I feel like he does need to improve that. But I'm a big Dak believer. I like Dak. I've always said that I believe the Cowboys' issue is their culture. So I think that's the issue there. I think Deion could be that. Yeah, the owner. But I think we're looking at the wrong teammate or the wrong player from Colorado. Because from what I'm hearing, Jerry is infatuated with Travis Hunter. He wants Travis Hunter so much, because who is Deion Sanders?
Yep.
Travis Hunter.
Yep.
So he's looking for someone to be his Deion Sanders on the team. Someone to help that. We have a huge need at cornerback and receiver. We need a number 2 receiver. We need another cornerback. It's kind of like it fits there. So I think if there was going to be a splash made from Dallas, it's a trade up to potential, like, let's say, let me look at the draft order here, but let's say 3 quarterbacks go in the first 3 picks. Abdul Carter goes at 4. Does Dallas try to trade up to 5 or 6 to get like a Travis Hunter? There's the options right there. And I think that's something that we could be talking about.
Yeah, Dallas lost Rico Dowdle. So,
and I like Rico Dowdle had a good season towards the end, but he didn't do much. Like, I didn't see it with him. Dallas needs a running back that can get 4.5, 5 yards a chunk, and that's what they're used to getting. And that's an offensive line issue, and that's a running back issue because there were holes there, and there are abilities to run through that Dowdle didn't get to because of his initial burst. So
there you go. Let's get back to Miami for a second with pick 13, and then we're going to get into the QB that Miami took a look at recently up close and personal. But where things stand at 13 right now, we know what Miami needs, what their needs were going into free agency. We know what they've done, and we've run that down. We've run that out before. Currently, as things stand, and Coach Josh, you correct me if I'm wrong or add something if I forget something. Left guard still a major need. Defensive line, Calais Campbell does not come back. He decides to retire. D-line could be at the top of the list. Forgive me, guys. Corner. What does Miami have at corner other than Jalen Ramsey as a starting caliber corner? And Kader Kohu could be coming back. He alluded to that on the Dive Bar podcast. Shout out to those guys. You got Cam Smith, who was drafted in the second round a couple years back, but he has not shown up at all for anything. Was Vic Fangio right? You got the safety position. Miami did sign 2 safeties, low risk, high reward, but still safety is a big into play. But left guard, maybe a tackle, depending on, but D tackle definitely rises up the boards if Calais does not go down, or Calais does not return. Coach, let me ask you, where things stand at 13 currently? Shut up, Russ. Russ saying they need a kicker. Shut the hell up. No, just if you're sitting there at 13 with the current needs that they have, and what are you looking at position at that point, thinking about who may be there? Because they, obviously, simulators, simulators are simulators for a reason. They're just for fun, and there's sometimes guys that are going to be there that they shouldn't, and there's guys that are going to be overdrafted, and guys that probably they say, oh, that's going to be that guy's going to be in the third round. He might go in the first round, but you're sitting there at 13. Is Miami's need at D tackle, corner, safety, or guard desperate enough for Miami to reach at any of those positions, or are you still going BPA?
Well, I feel like there's enough good players in the draft that at 13, BPA is probably your best bet. I was going to say that if Miami hadn't addressed anything offensive line, that you have to go offensive line at 13. But they have added some pieces, not necessarily the pieces we wanted or brought back, but they have added some decent players. So I think, at this point, if you can get a stud pick at any of those positions, that's kind of like you've been preaching from the jump, best player available. I'm always going to say offensive line, defensive line first, just because you can never have enough of those guys because they get hurt so easily.
Yeah, fair game. Josh.
Sorry, say that question again.
No, man, just what Miami has done in free agency so far, and what we knew what the needs were, what they are currently. Where do you stand on pick 13? I mean, is there a position that they need so desperately that they forego BPA and just go for it, or is it where it's like, hey, you could wait later in the draft to get that position? Where would you go at 13 at this point for Miami?
I think the offensive line is that big one we talked about. That left guard, I think, is pretty big, but 13, as we all know, is pretty heavy to take a left guard. I'm in the belief of, hey, if the player's going to hit, take him, and you believe in him.
But you don't know that.
Yeah.
Right? So, you don't know that a player's going to hit.
But also, I think last year we kind of looked at what's coming up with this team. They did heavily look at like the safety position already with Ashton Davis, Ifeatu Metofonwu. You like how I said that name like that?
Yeah, there you go.
I know Bobby was struggling with it at one point, so I'm like, yeah. But I'm a little concerned right now with the defensive line.
Yeah.
Matt Dickerson is there at the left defensive end. The right defense end, you don't have to worry about because that's Zach Sealer. He's I mean, was he a Pro Bowler? He should have been a Pro Bowler if not.
Yeah.
And then you got Benito Jones, sorry.
Benito.
I'm interested in what's there on the defense line because if it's there, like I think that's a need. But I also feel like this team isn't in a position at where it's positioned. Like other than offensive line, if there's an offensive line that you believe in, go take them. Because I do believe these offensive linemen can move around on the offensive line fairly well. But I feel like a trade back is more like I think a trade back is something that's an option for Miami right now. Maybe not too far because I don't know how many first round picks are in this draft, but just collecting some picks because of the picks that you've lost previously, and just getting more well positioned to the value of this draft for what your needs are, to where you can get a defensive lineman and then pick up maybe something else down the line as well.
What's up, Alex? Alex Brown. Great to see you, brother. It was great to see you yesterday on No Holds Barred. Alex Brown, former co-host of the No Holds Barred Wrestling podcast, tuning in. Houston Texan fan joining us. Appreciate you watching. Coach now looks like one of those guys on Dateline that they don't want their face to be seen when they're trying to tell a story about.
It is kind of dark. Hold on.
I noticed that. Like I was like, that's a silhouette. I was like, what happened? That's so funny.
There you go. Let's see if this works.
What did he do to you? Well, I was alone in the cafeteria.
Oh, really?
But no, I know what Kevin's coming from because 13 is a really good area for Miami to be in because, if the situation comes down where 3 quarterbacks are taken in the first round, a really good player or players are going to be sitting there at 13 where Miami can't really go wrong. So I can understand not wanting to trade back. However, if a scenario comes out where Miami could trade out of 13, 16, 15, whatever, in that range under top 20, you might still be able to get a quality player BPA wise and still go and fill up a need. Craig says trade down 5 spots. 5 spots is safe. That's a safe spot, especially with whoever's still on the board. And we'll discuss that on draft night. We're going to look at who's still on the board at that point via our draft board and whatever's in, and we'll talk about, hey man, should Miami entertain a trade down here? So hopefully you guys stick with us and watch the draft with us. Follow it. You can watch it on TV while you're watching our show, and we'll react to the picks and go from there on draft day and the draft weekend, obviously for Friday and Saturday. Now, I'm with you guys. I think obviously I'm all about BPA, but again, BPA could still be a need. Right, you could still go because again, we talk about the safety position. Miami has done work on there. I love what Miami has done in free agency in regards of addressing needs, so that way when they go in the draft, they have complete flexibility. They don't have to go guard right now because they got James Daniels. They got Borum. James Daniels possibly a right guard situation. So you still need a left guard, but you can address the left guard position at 48. Safety was a dire need for Miami. They lost Javon Holland. Jordan Poyer was a bust for us. Miami needs to address that position. Now they did go get Malifonwu. They got how do you like that? Yeah, I've been practicing too. They got Malifonwu. They got Ashton Davis. However, Malifonwu has injury history. Now, if he's healthy, that's a good move. I think he has a lot of upside for Miami. I love his size. You know me, guys. I'm a size guy. And then Ashton Davis. Ashton Davis is he's not. I think he's good at special teams, but he's not really a quality guy in regards of starting, your starting caliber. He possibly can. But for me, it doesn't eliminate safety at 13, but it does give you the flexibility to pass on that position. Now, I'm high on Nick Amonrari. If Amonrari's there, I'm all for it. Malachi Starks. Corner. Again, corner is a need for this team, but it also could be BPA because if Jedi Barron is sitting there from Texas, or Will Johnson out of Michigan. Mm-hmm. If either one of those guys are sitting there, you could afford to pass up on a tackle or a guard at 13. Because I think there's a bigger drop-off at those positions than there is at offensive line. I think you could get a quality left guard in the second round. If you want to go tackle, you could get a tackle in the second round. You can't get – Will Johnson is possibly – and I believe in Barron as well, Amonrari. I believe, like Will Johnson at 13 and Barron, I believe those guys when all's said and done, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, we're going, damn, dude, how the hell did we land that guy? That's a good dude. So Miami can still get a quality player at 13 and it be a team need, but also BPA. Kevin says, so pass on an Earl Thomas type player to take Jared Odrick. Yeah, no. Oh, gosh. See, but yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point, right? That you pass up on a legitimate play. But here's the thing, Kevin. How many times has Miami stayed put at a pick and drafted the wrong player when they should have took so-and-so player? We talk about, Eichenberg over Jonathan Taylor, or was it Justin Jefferson? There's different things that when that happens. Love this draft, calling it the draft of the big boys. Alex, right with you, my man. So let's get back to Miami because we're talking corner. We've talked D tackle, offensive line. Well, here's a dire thing for Miami, and this isn't a thing on Tua, but it always is. It has to be. But quarterback is always a concern for Miami right now, just because with Tua, whether you believe in him or you don't believe in him, we won't get into that as a franchise. We'll talk about his injury history. That's there. That's what's going to end up killing his career in Miami is his injury history. That's when Miami's going to have to decide to move on with him, that if he continues to get hurt. And, they could build a wall in front of him, and try to hope that he lives or survives that. The fact of the matter is any little hit is going to get you going, oh, that's why Miami's desperately needed a QB2. Now they got Zach Wilson. Now, here another thing goes, okay, do we believe in Zach Wilson as a QB2? You know what? He's young enough. We know what his talent is. He was drafted in the first round. He played for the Jets, and that's not a knock on Russ. I'm just saying in that situation, the Jets were horrible. I mean, there's nobody could succeed there. I mean, even Aaron Rodgers, a future Hall of Famer, cannot succeed. Brett Favre, Sam, what's this? Sam, no, not Sam, right? Sam Darnold. Look what he was able to do when he left. So I'm not saying Wilson's going to be that, but I don't hate on Zach Wilson being QB2, the ceiling of that.
What was it? Oakland, the Oakland Raiders, when we used to say that's where players go to die.
Yeah,
I feel like the New York Jets is where players or quarterbacks go to die.
Yeah, it's a graveyard there. And Kevin says Miami needs a pool of Falcons, just can't trust Tua anymore. So he's saying draft a QB early. I think Miami should entertain drafting a quarterback somewhere in this draft. I believe in drafting QB every year until you hit on one, no matter where you're at in the draft. But if a Shador or a Cam Ward is there, I don't know if Miami would even entertain it. I think they would possibly look at the trade down possibility and go that route. But second round, third round, later down in the draft.
I'm a big believer in Will Howard.
I know you are.
I think Will Howard, well, you said that like you're not. You said that like you're anti Will Howard right now.
I'm not anti Will Howard. I'm not. I just know you are high on Will Howard.
You're like, I know you are.
I know you are. I just saw your grade. I remember we talked about it. Where would you take Will Howard? Where's your ceiling on him in regards of drafting him?
And this is me listening to the Dallas Cowboys draft show, but I've heard people talk about they wouldn't be upset if he went at the end of the first round. That's how high some people are on him. I don't know if I'm there yet, but I think he could be a late second, early third round pick quarterback.
So, Josh, you know, Coach, you know this too, but you guys would know this. This happens a lot though with QBs, because QB is such a prime position that a lot of players before the draft get talked up. And yeah, QBs could go very fast in round one. Should they though? A lot of QB, because eventually you look, and I go back to the draft with Malik Willis. He didn't get drafted in round one, but remember those guys they're going to get drafted in round one. They got drafted in the third round and everything else. And guess what? They didn't pan out. I feel like this is that draft class.
Oh, I do too.
The only one I feel comfortable drafting in round one is Cam Ward. That's it. Cam Ward. That's it. There's no other guy I feel comfortable drafting in round one. Rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, that's a different conversation.
If you put Cam Ward in last year's draft, where are you taking him?
Caleb, you got Drake May.
Yeah, you have Jalen.
You got Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels. Like, where does he stack up? Because that was a good draft. That was a good
It was a very
draft.
good quarterback draft, and it was a legitimate quarterback class. It was a
Yeah.
good one. Honestly, he's the third QB, I think.
You think he above Drake May?
Yeah, Caleb, Jaden, Cam Ward. Cam Ward. We were talking. Russ asked a great question. He asked a similar question, just reversed it. He asked me, where would you take him next year, based off next year's QB class? And of course, we have to watch film and everything else. But I was like,
that's why I went.
He's in that top.
You know, last year. So where would you stack him in that?
But without, I mean, I would think he's right. I think he's in the top 3 for sure. I like Drake May. I wasn't as high as most people are on Drake May.
Oh, I'm right there with you.
You got Bo Nix. Bo Nix is, I know you're high on Bo.
Where, you got to think about that too. I think he's somewhere in that stack. It just depends. I think he's in that Drake May.
But that's why for me, he's still round 1, right? I mean, he is in that. There's no QB better than him in this draft.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to go first overall because somebody needs a QB, and he's the one that you got to get, and he's the one that's probably going to be the most. But
was Drake May, Bo Nix, a first round pick on your board?
I don't think Drake May was, and that doesn't mean that he wasn't going to, because based off the grading, Josh.
Yeah, I think I actually had Bo Nix as a second round pick.
Yeah, I had him as a high second, if I remember. I don't know if we still have.
So we have him as and I'm just saying he would have been a first round pick because of how the NFL draft works and how NFL teams value the quarterback position. But we're looking at no true first round quarterbacks in this year's draft. We're probably looking at the quarterback to have that second round value. So going into this with that expectation of, quarterbacks elevate through the draft all the time. There are probably no first round valued quarterbacks. So a second round pick is going to be, so this is a lesser valued draft class if you look at it.
So, all right. So let's go ahead and let's stick to quarterbacks, and let's talk about a quarterback that Miami has shown some interest. They've met with, at the Senior Bowl, they met with Dylan Gabriel. They met with Jalen Milroe out of Alabama. Gabriel's from Oregon. I'm trying to think of who else they have met with. But they recently, though, Marvin Allen, their GM, their assistant general manager, attended Louisville's Pro Day and did work on, this is reported, on Tyler Shough of Louisville. And I've heard about this kid from Josh Mabry of the Ruckus Entertainment podcast. He was telling me he's a fan of Louisville, but he was like, you need to take a look at this kid. Watch him on your draft show. I said, we will. And we've discussed it. But, I told the guys, I said, let's take a look at this kid, and discuss him. Very quick. Tyler Shough plays for the Louisville Cardinals. He's 25 years old. He's been in the league in college football for 7 years, I believe. Started off as a backup to Justin Herbert. Yeah. I think he played and he led them to a championship. I don't know if I have it in there or not, but here's his numbers there. But he's 6'5", 225. Finished last year 33,195 yards, 23 touchdowns, 6 INTs. Some people, I have him moving up. Let me see what I have written here. Let me pull up what I wrote on him. Went to Hamilton High School. Excuse me, guys. 7-year college starter, started in Oregon, back up to Justin Herbert, became the starter in 2020 after leading the Oregon Ducks to a Pac-12 title. Traveled to Texas Tech, where he was hampered with injuries. He then moved to Louisville, where he showcased why he was so highly coveted coming out of high school as a 4-star recruit. At the Senior Bowl, Shough turned heads during practice in Mobile, earning top QB honors with from defensive backs on the national team. While his age at 25 and injury history raises some concerns and could obviously push him down boards, his physical tools and experience in multiple offensive systems makes him an intriguing day 2 prospect who could develop, obviously come in as a backup, but could develop into a starter with the right coaching and possible situation. What I saw when watching his film, and I told you guys I watched the Miami game and I watched some, I'm trying to remember the other game in it, but I watched a quarterback who doesn't fold when the pocket collapses around him, keeps his eyes downfield to make a play. This guy's a gunslinger, good pocket mobility to extend a play, very good release and delivery when the ball leaves his hand with natural velocity, a QB in control of his offense even when things aren't working out. His experience in multiple style offenses gives him leverage at the next level. But of course, his injury history and age are knocked. It should keep him in that day 2 range, I would believe. I don't like giving comparisons and all this whatnot. I will say, when I watched, at least in that Miami game, and I'll watch more other games as well, but what I saw, guys, and to help Dolphin fans think of a possible quarterback, I saw a Ryan Fitzpatrick type style, where I saw when things were falling apart, he has great improv skills. There was a thing where I was like, oh, you should not have thrown that ball. He was getting sacked and he was getting tugged from the jersey and he was falling down. I was like, oh, that you shouldn't throw that ball. And it got to the receiver. I don't know how it got there. I don't know how he made that play.
I know the exact play you're talking about.
Okay. So and I was like, that's when I was like, this dude, I get it. I understand it now. And obviously, you think of what he did years before in the injury history and whatever, but last year was his first complete year. And, and obviously what he's been able to do post-draft, post-free agency or post-college, he's moving up some boards according to some people. I like what I saw from him. I'm not against him going as a possible option for Miami in the mid-rounds, whether that's in the 3rd round. I don't know how comfortable I am with a 2nd-round quarterback, but I wouldn't hate it. Let me see. Where do I have him here? I have a 3rd-round grade. Oh, we have a 3rd-round grade. Let me see. 6.46. Is that 2nd round? I think that's 2nd round, Josh.
Yeah,
right?
2nd.
Okay, so but between me and Coach Vogel, because Vogel watched him a little earlier, it rounds out to a 3rd-round grade as a team, the 3 of us. But for me, I have a 2nd-round grade on him. So go ahead, Coach. I'll start with you, and Josh, you follow up. What do you think of Tyler Shough, man?
I rewatched the film today, and I think I fell in love with him more today than I did originally watching him. Like you said, he stays alive in the pocket until the very last second, and it felt like most of the time he was either going to get rid of the ball or he knew where his outlet was every time. He didn't take a lot of terrible sacks, which is nice. He has, I feel like he's got pretty decent arm talent. All the throws, all the levels. And again, we don't like to compare people or attributes and stuff like that. But when he's throwing the ball, he does have some of those, Brett Favre type gunslinger or from the side motion type throws where it's not just, statue in the pocket and all you can do is throw overhand. He does have some of that sidearm action to get where his targets are. So I think there's a lot there to work with. And of course, Miami's interested in him because of his injury history, correct? Just kidding.
Bada boom.
But what I did see, I mean, you can obviously see where he has potential. I mean, you look at that picture right there that you have pulled up. I mean, he looks like a quarterback.
He looks a little bit like Kirk Cousins, Tannehill.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Yeah.
Get the fans to really love him. He looks a lot like Ryan Tannehill. Runs like him. He was a former wide receiver. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa, I was about to say, I didn't see that.
Just kidding. No, I watched him. Oh, I didn't even see Kevin's response there, that how he looks like Kirk Cousins. But I watched him. I agree, Coach. I saw someone that could throw from different angles to get the ball released. The one thing, yes, he was willing to get the ball out and was able to extend the play a little bit, even under pressure. He had the mindset of getting the ball out, but there are some where I just wish he would have just held on to it.
Right.
Especially towards the end of that Miami game.
Yeah.
He threw one that could have been a pick. He threw another one that was it could have been a penalty. And this is when they were coming, because in this game they were behind and they were coming back in this game. So, and it was like a 1-score game at this point. And he threw one that could have been a, what is it? It was to no one. So he could have got a penalty for that. And then he threw another one that was a in route, or not an in route. It was a comeback route, and he just tossed it past the receiver because he was under that pressure. There's some that I just wish he learns, and it's something he'll learn as he gets experience, because as we can see, he doesn't have much experience. But I was looking in the aspect of what Tua does in this offense and what he's asked to do in this offense. And I think he could be almost a plug and play type player. Yeah, I want that experience, but he's accurate. He extends plays by getting outside the pocket and throwing the ball. He has
the throws he's making aren't like, oh my God, don't,
Yeah,
oh good.
No, he's like, accurate. He has the arm strength. His receivers didn't help him either. They dropped some beautiful passes to him.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Even in the end zone, right? So if you can see him, if he makes those throws to Waddle or Hill, those are touchdown catches.
He's overthrowing receivers.
Yeah.
And they're stumbling getting to the ball, which would have been a perfect breadbasket throw. I think he's good. He just needs that experience. That's what he's missing, and you don't know what that experience is going to bring for him, and how he's going to develop from that. But he has the size, he has the accuracy, he has the arm strength, he has the ability to move out of the pocket. My concern with him is actually, again, he kind of reminds me of Justin Fields a little bit, where he doesn't give up on a play. He needs to learn a little bit of giving up on that play. And then I never saw him step up in the pocket. I would love for him to actually step up. And
so Josh, you're hitting the money on the head. First off, shout out to George of the Fins Faithful podcast. Does awesome stuff there. Friend of the channel. Him and Jason Sarney, great content. They've had some draft prospects on their show as well. Guys, if you love the Dolphins and you love great info, go check out the fastest rising Dolphins podcast out there, which is the Fins Faithful podcast, or George, good dear friend of mine. And he guys great draft stuff too, man. Him and Sarney on the on season on Thursday nights. I think that's when their show is on. Forgive me, George. If you're on, you plug your show, dude. Help me. Kevin says, I'd call the Patriots to see if a fourth gets me QB Milton. If it wasn't the Patriots, 100%. I just don't know if the Patriots would do that. But if it was any other team, I'd be on for Joe Milton as well. Tyler Shough. I love everything you guys say. I'm with you 1,000%, and I'm absolutely down with taking him for Miami at any pick if he'd be there. Size, what I saw in film, what he's done throughout his career. I mean, he's a 7-year rookie. That's what he's coming in as. So he's been there. He's done that. He has experience in regards of, like, maybe not in-game experience as much as Josh you would like, but he has experience in learning multiple offenses. And you were talking about plug and play. That's a huge plus for me in Miami, for a team like Miami. You want a guy, because if Tua goes down, you want a guy who can come in and pull it out. We saw what a Fitzpatrick did with Miami. Obviously not with a McDaniel, but that's the type of guy I could see here. Now, you talk about he just needs experience. Kid's 25 years old. That's the downside. Yeah. You're getting a guy who is going to be, he's good. He's 5 years from being 30. It's going to be hard to try to mold him into anything more than what he is already. I mean, there obviously, I'm not going to say he's hit his ceiling, but
no.
It is something where, it's like, this is not a kid. It's going to grow, 5 years he'll be 30, another 5 he'll be 35, and the 10 he'll be 35. And so you're getting a guy who, is probably going to be your plug and play guy if Tua goes down, and maybe your short term starter, which is not a bad thing for a team like Miami. I've seen enough where if Miami were to take him 48, or not even 48, but let's say third round, maybe moving up, I'm down with that. I'll be cool with that. I think this kid could come in. He could push Zach Wilson, and I think he's a very good plug and play type QB. I like what I saw from him. So shout out to Josh Mabry for bringing him up. And Josh just let us know too that Texas QB Quinn Ewers has met with has met with the Miami Dolphins. So that's something we'll have to watch a lot more of him, and then we'll talk about him next week. But there you go. Thursday nights, the on season with George and Jason Sarney at 8 p.m. Eastern time. and also will be this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So there you go. So, he's adding days. So, man, and they got great stuff, dude. I'll tune in. I'll tune in to support, just so the guys, say hello and all that. But there's a lot of times I tune in and I stay watching because I love what they're doing there, guys. So check them out. Dude, if you're watching right now and you haven't subscribed to their channel and you're a Dolphins fan, you're missing out. Hit that like and subscribe button.
And the big concern with Shough, is that what we're saying?
I thought it was Shaw, but I think it's Shough. I think so.
It's just that big. He's had a collarbone injury.
Yep.
He's had a shoulder injury. He's broken his leg. It's just these big injuries just keep popping up. I wouldn't say he's injury prone because it's not like
not the same injury
over and over again, but he's got soft bones.
Yeah. He needs to drink more milk.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying, dude. People, I'm a milk drinker. I drink the hell out of a milk. You give me a glass of milk at the end of the night, I'm golden.
Yeah, I don't know if my son will ever break a bone because that's all that child drinks is milk.
That's good, man.
Quit 10 at 12 years old.
It's how can Miami take another quarterback where the team looks back and says, "Oh, this guy has had injury after injury after injury that has stopped his season." It's going to be hard to do that, and then the fan base get behind him. Because they're just going to be like, oh, we just drafted an accurate guy that can move out of the pocket, that gets injured all the time. So I would think that would be the one hesitation for Miami, and that should be the only hesitation for Miami in this process because when you throw on the film, he's a good player.
Yeah. So I think that's fair. I think that what works in his favor, though, it hasn't been the same injury as you brought up.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, we're about the hour in. We appreciate everyone tuning in. We're going to try to round out our top 50. Obviously, the guys have to watch more film. I'm going to watch more film so we can get that at least before the draft night. But if you have anybody you'd like us to discuss on the show, please put it in the comments, whether we're live or not, or hit one of us up on Twitter. You could catch Josh at Josh Wingate 302. Coach is FinsFan72, I believe, right, Coach?
At Fins, yep.
And I'm at Bobby Finstock on Twitter. So if there's a guy that you go, hey guys, would you guys talk about him? Can you watch? We're happy to do that. Let us know. I'll let the guys know, and we'll go to work, or they'll let one of us know. So anyway, appreciate you all tuning in. Coach, any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Fins up, baby. Draft season is here upon us. The greatest time of year.
There you go. Josh?
Enjoy being here with you boys.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to actually be back on the show. Bobby wouldn't let me come on. It was no, I'm just kidding. It's been great. I enjoy doing this every Sunday, and I'm excited for the draft.
There you go. All right, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate you all. Like and subscribe, and most importantly, Dolphin fans, fins up. See you next.